Okay, hi folks. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. We've got lots to get through today. So this is the Tech and Data online info session. Like I said, my name's Dave. I'm an information specialist at McMaster Continuing Education. I'm going to be joined today by our program manager, Mati, who is the program manager for several of the tech and data programs that we'll be talking about today. So he'll be jumping in to discuss a handful of those I'll also be covering some others and doing some polls and fun stuff like that. So lots to get through. Let's get right to it. Firstly, just want to say that McMaster University recognizes and acknowledges that it is located on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. So here is our technology program overview. So today we're going to be talking about data analytics, data science, big data programming and architecture, as well as open source intelligence, data governance, and full stack development. I will leave it over to Mati here, who's going to talk about data analytics and some others.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the intro, Dave. Happy to be here walking you through data program streams and open source intelligence and a couple of other programs with my colleagues too. So to start with, data analytics is the basic stream of programming area we offer. And as you can see here, the learning outcomes are the following. By the end of the program, like when you complete it, you will learn how to apply statistical method for analysis of data, how to collect, analyze, interpret, and share the data. You will learn how to identify relationships in data and basically correlations in data and just to extract the insight from it, and how to select and employ problem-solving techniques you have in your arsenal of tools, like to basically problem solve and come up with a business solution for different business contexts. If we can proceed to the next slide. All right, so the data analytic program, as I said, is a basic stream that doesn't need any prior background or work experience. And the program is structured in a way that all courses are scheduled for, the virtual classroom courses are scheduled for weekday evenings and weekends. And we do have a couple of online asynchronous courses, but most of the courses are live classroom running through Zoom. And there is a scheduled time that the students should join the sessions, but the virtual classroom means there will be a recording of the lecture sessions for the courses. There are many courses listed under data analytic program. All courses are elective. Students only need to pick and complete 5 courses out of, I believe, 8, 9 courses we have there to be able to obtain a data analytic fourth certificate. And it's academic certificate program. There is a shorter pathway for the learners. If they have time budget limitation, they should be able to complete only 3 courses, elective courses out of the course pool in the data analytic stream and be able to obtain academic certificate of professional learning. Of course, there will be one-off course option that if you are interested in completing only one course it could be for different purpose, such as like catching up with the trends or common trends in the area of data, and you have prior experience with the other course topics, so you can still do one course from the program. The program doesn't require any application. It's open enrollment. As I said, the courses are elective, so it gives lots of flexibility for the learners. If we can proceed to the next slide, please. Okay, here is a snapshot of the top skills you're going to learn in the data analytic program. The skills such as the concepts in data analysis, and business intelligence, data visualization, data modeling. And some of the tools, as you can see, SQL, Python, R, SAS, Power BI, Tableau. And there are other tools, introductory level content about the other tools, but we try to, as much as possible, give student exposure to different industry popular tools. So they can, after the course, they can learn on their own as well. The tools are adopted for teaching the concept. Basically, the courses are designed in a way that it gives a good balance of teaching the concept, and it also provides hands-on experience for the learners. And we have a select number of courses that we also have real-world industry project experiential learning for the learners. The top job titles for data analytic program are data analyst, business intelligence analyst, statistical analyst, database analyst, data management analyst, and so on and so forth. And basically, most of the job title here for data analytic stream are application level, and the locations are almost everywhere. Like you can see job posting and hiring opportunities in Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver, Ottawa. And the top employers are from different industry sectors: finance, retail, consulting. You can see a few examples of them, like TD Canada, Amazon Canada, and Scotiabank. And then you can see the number of employees like as well. So I'm moving to the next program stream, which is data science. It is somewhat intermediate to more experienced because learners will learn how to develop different applications using the techniques and tools they have in their arsenal. The learning outcomes are the following: how to translate the business problem into an analytical problem, of course, to be able to work on it, proposing and refining an analytical solution for business problem. You will learn problem-solving techniques and software tools for that. Of course, common industries tools are used to teach the concept in the courses, and how to identify, test, evaluate, model structure to solve the business problem, which is the bottom line goal. If we can move to the, yeah, thank you. So data science certificate, similar to data analytics certificate. It is in a virtual classroom format. We don't have asynchronous courses. All the courses are virtual live. And again, similar to the previous stream of the program, you need to only complete 5 courses out of the courses listed on the program website to obtain the full certificate, or you can complete 3 elective courses to obtain a certificate of professional learning, which is, again, academic certificate. When I say the courses or the certificates are academic certificate, that means that courses are 4 credit and they're applicable toward a diploma degree program elsewhere. If we can move to the next slide, please. Yes. Here's the industry highlight for the data science stream. The top skills you can learn from this program are Python, SQL, Agile, data analysis, machine learning, automation, Java, and big data and computer science skills. Top job titles, as I said before, because the program is intermediate to experience level type program, are mostly the scientist title or development roles, like data scientist, machine learning engineer, data analyst, analytical managers, business analyst, and database admin. And you can see the number of job posting in prospect there. Next slide, please. So as you can see, here is a sample student feedback, student testimonial for the data science program. And I'm going to read it I was recently accepted in Bachelor of Science in Data Science and Business Analytics. The work completed at McMaster Continuing Education played a part in obtaining that acceptance. Basically, they acquired the foundation they needed to get into a graduate level program. So this is the third and the last stream of the data program, which is called Big Data Programming Architecture. It is a somewhat experienced level program. As you can see, the learning outcomes are mostly around like the development and the cloud platforms. You'll be able to learn how to implement cloud computing concept. You'll be able to learn like to build a variety of IT infrastructure for the cloud and some popular cloud platforms like GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and Amazon Cloud, and also Azure Microsoft Cloud will be covered in the courses. The next learning outcome is proposing and refining analytical solution to a business problem, collecting, analyzing, interpreting, sharing data, as well as identifying the relationship, of course, in the data sets. And also working with open source and scalable database tools is another learning outcome on completion of this program. Next slide, please. This stream also shares similar structure. All courses are virtual classroom format, live sessions scheduled throughout the week, evenings, and weekends. And again, you need to complete only 5 courses out of the courses listed within this program to be able to receive full certificate, or 3 courses for academic certificate of professional learning, which is a shorter one. And you may have the question about how long does it take? Like the expectation is like for the basic and intermediate stream program, you should be able to earn the shorter certificate of completion. Professional learning, I mean, in 4 months, as soon as 4 months, or 8 months for data science stream. But for this one, since the courses are scheduled, less often it's going to be minimum 1 year to be able to obtain the certificate of professional learning. All right, next slide, please. So as you can see, here is a summary of some of the skills you will learn in this program: big data, SAS, Python, SQL, AWS Cloud, Agile, data analysis, and machine learning for big data. And the top job titles are, again, architect level job titles like big data architect and database developer, data engineer, big data developer, data visualization developer, and business analytic specialist. And you can see the number of posting in Canada, which is like in good standard. Next slide, please. The next program I'm going to walk you through is open source intelligence. Basically, open source intelligence is this type of skill that helps you to use open source tools and data sources to drive insight, and the learning outcome will be utilizing the latest technology and advanced research technique, how to recognize cyber threat and safeguard your safety and privacy online, and how to accurately assess the value and quality of online sources of data. These design tools and processes to collect and manage data, and use various tools and methods, as I said, to monitor online and social media sources for extracting insight. And the structure of this program, since this program is a non-academic professional development program, all courses are non-credit courses, but we do have the first 2 courses, Tradecraft and Python for basic collection, cross-listed within the data analytics stream, which is nice. It gives students an option to complete these courses if they are interested. Except the first course, which is virtual classroom, all the other 3 courses you need to complete are in online self-study format. What that means is there is no scheduled class, or there is no deadline to complete the course activities. It's only it gives you more flexibility to follow the course content on your own pace, and basically it's continuous enrollment. You will be able to enroll anytime you want. You don't have to wait for academic semester start date, and you will have 90 days to complete 20 hours of content, which is nice. And in order to obtain the digital marker credential, you will need to complete all 4 courses. Next slide. Okay, here's also a quick highlight of the open source intelligence program. The top skills you're going to learn is open source intelligence, web scraping, SQL, Python, data analysis, cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. The job titles are, this list of job titles are specifically for open source specialists or analysts, like threat intelligence analyst, fraud analyst, and research analyst. But the open source intelligence skill is a complementary skill. What that means is it can be applied in different industry sectors, like marketing. Individuals could take benefit out of the skill. People in the area of law enforcement, in HR, data analytics, they can take benefit of the skills, and they can use these skills and just to get ahead of like in their job and grow. And the type of job specifically about the data and open source intelligence, it's again, this is limited to area of open source intelligence, but the application of these tools and skills is vast. It's not just related to intelligence. So that brings me to the end of the part that I'm supposed to cover. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Madi. So yeah, that was those are the programs in our presentation today that Madi is the program manager of. So thanks again to him. I am going to dive in now to a new program that we offer. It's called data governance. So this program is it's kind of a less of a technical focus than the other data programs that we've talked about so far. This one is more about this one's more about policy than the technical side of things, right? So you've got the so this one is, I'm going to just read off here. It's the essential components of data management, including data quality, data security, and data accessibility. Key elements for a robust data governance framework. It includes data stewardship, data ownership, and data governance councils. Tools and best practices that help streamline the development and implementation of a data strategy. When you do these courses, you'll earn a micro credential for each course, which is a new thing for this program. I'm just mentioning this because we do get quite a few questions from people, for other micro credentials we offer, sometimes expecting that they'll earn a micro credential for each individual course, but that's not the case in any program except for this one. So just so you know, yeah, that would be that's unique to this program, at least right now. So you can earn a micro. So to clarify this, you can earn a micro credential for completing each course in this program, and then an overall credential for completing multiple courses, which I believe, yeah, is explained on this page. Yeah, if you complete the 4 courses that are listed at the bottom there, you get the certificate of completion in data governance, and then you can also get like an individual micro credential for completion of each of these courses. So to kind of summarize if I were to summarize the information on the previous page in my own words, it's just this program is really about understanding how to create good policy around data, rather than being the person that's doing. I mean, you may land in a role where you're doing technical stuff as well, but this is about being knowledgeable about what makes for good policy in terms of, taking into considerations things like privacy, and other stuff like that. Privacy, security, things like that, right? So okay. We can take a look here at the top related skills. The same kind of stuff. I won't read through the whole list. You folks can see it, but it's the same kind of skills as for the other program. But I've just described what is different about it. And similar, similar job titles as well. Of course, any of these jobs, they may, it really depends on the role and the company and their needs and all that kind of stuff. But these are obviously these are job titles that are, where the skills and the knowledge from this program would benefit. It's not necessarily saying that, this program is all you would need to get that job, right? But certainly, it's relevant to many jobs in this area, and it's an important thing to know, right? With data impacting so much of our lives, having good policy around that data is extremely important. I don't think anyone could argue otherwise. Um, so let's move on then to talking about full stack development. So if you're here because you want to take like the coding program and learn to code, that's what this program is. This was also talked about earlier today from the program manager who was able to be here for that one, but Chris was talking about this, but it's kind of slotted under both categories because it is kind of it does have kind of an entrepreneurial focus. It's kind of oriented towards people who are looking to create their own website slash app for as a product, right? Or running a service, like whatever it looks like. But of course the skills can apply to all sorts of things. You could certainly take these skills and go and work for somebody else and do whatever it is they need doing as well. But you'll see this goes over, it's UX, it's front end development, and it's back end development. And as I've been talking, I'm sure you can see what the overview is there in terms of like some specific things: HTML, CSS, accessibility, and WCAG guidelines, how to apply JavaScript, coding frameworks, API software, and how it's applied to web design, etc. So, so to go into this in a little bit more detail, the way this program works is kind of interesting and actually also kind of unique compared to anything else we offer. So, the way this program works is it's 9 courses in total for the diploma, but you can also take, so there's 3 courses in UX/UI, there's 3 courses in front-end development, and there's 3 courses in back-end development. And what you can do is you can take you can focus on one of those areas and you can earn a certificate of professional learning by completing the 3 relevant courses. So let's say you're just interested in the UI UX part, you could just take the 3 UX related courses and you could earn a certificate of completion and then you're all done, right? Let's say you do that and then you're like, hey, I really liked that and I actually want to expand my education and learn even more about in this field. So I actually want to do the whole diploma. So you can do that. Then you could take 6 more courses, the front end ones, the 3 front end ones, and the 3 back end ones, and you could earn the whole diploma. And actually, because of the way this program is set up, it's technically possible to take each certificate individually, get the credential for each. So you get 3 certificates and the diploma for completing all 9. So for 9 courses, you could get 4 credentials on your resume. No other program we have works like this, but this full stack development program does work like that. which is again pretty unique and pretty special thing to be able to get 4 credentials on your resume for 9 courses. So if this is something you're interested in and you want to beef up your resume with a bunch of different credentials from McMaster, don't forget about this one because yeah, it's great. So here's some more, pertinent information. Did you know that the demand for full stack developers is projected to increase by 16% from 2021 to 2031? I'd say that's probably a conservative estimate, but yeah, who knows? And here's a quote from a recent graduate. Mariana said that the courses offered are invaluable and are taught by the best of the best. Completing courses at McMaster Continuing Education will only put one at an advantage when it comes to obtaining and retaining a job. Yeah, awesome. So, um, and yeah, we've got, that's one thing that one person said. We've had lots of good feedback about this program as well. So yeah, yeah. So top skills for this one. These are some keywords that you're probably familiar with if you're interested in this kind of work, but yeah, full stack development, user experience, UI design, agile methodology, information architecture, user research, problem solving, innovation, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, API software. There is some Adobe Creative Suite covered in there as well. You can see the top job titles are all UX related, and that doesn't really surprise me. There's UX teams are pretty big, and I personally got a friend who works in this, and I think his team is pretty large, so that doesn't really surprise me. But of course, jobs in all areas of this are highly sought after. You're just talking about the top of the top there, right? And of course, yeah, some top locations are Toronto, Edmonton, Calgary, and really in lots of places in Canada and around the world. So moving on from that, here is a quick list of more tech and data programs that we're not going over in the presentation today, but you can find these and more information about them on our website. Some of these I will say are I'm just going to go through and explain what I mean. So like health analytics is a tech is basically a data program. It's a short data program, 3 courses to earn the credential, but it has a health focus, obviously, and so it's pretty quick and easy to get your feet wet and see if you or maybe level up your career if you're working in health or looking to. We have the privacy management program, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a shorter program on privacy management, kind of along similar lines to data governance, but it's like more focused. We also corporate training. This is kind of a more general thing. So if you are working somewhere and you're looking for training for your colleagues, you're a manager, you're HR, whatever, by all means, you can get in touch with us and ask about this. If, maybe something that you're looking for isn't quite hitting the mark when you're, looking at our sort of standard offerings and you're thinking, hey, I wonder if we could sort of get something custom or get something set up for like a group of 10, 20 employees or whatever. Reach out to us about that, and we're happy to discuss options. So that's what that's about. EdExpress is a program that it's a set of courses that we offer. These are pretty quick, jump in, jump out, general interest courses. They're not academic. They're not like for credit or for credentials, but these are fun, interesting courses for you to. Of course, all our courses are fun and interesting, but you know what I mean. These are courses like the history of rock music or things like that, right? And some stuff you can take. You can find that on our website under the EdExpress heading. And we also do partnered programs with a couple developers such as Ed2Go and You Got Class. These are third-party education providers who offer a number of different courses, actually like much more than we have listed here. But in different subjects, especially tech subjects, but other stuff too, business, off the top of my head, like there's a bunch of them. But yeah, if you scroll down on our program pages when you're sort of looking at tech and data, or you're looking at any other program kind of section, if you continue scrolling down sort of past the main programs, you'll find more options. And typically these are our partnered ones, our Ed2Go, You Got Class, etc. So some examples of that are the certified AWS developer, AWS SysOps administrator, and the SQL and Power BI programs. Yeah, moving on to this next slide, I'm going to talk quickly about essentials programs. Essentials programs are, we have essentials programs in all categories from, business to communication, etc. And there are also some tech ones. So if you're looking at our website and you're sort of on the first drop down where there's the different program sections, and you click on professional development, most of the courses listed under there are the essentials programs. Essentials programs are usually like 1 to 3 day sessions that you drop into on Zoom, and they're just on a very focused topic, and again, just kind of a similar vibe to if you've done workplace training over the course of a day or two on something that's relevant to your role. We have lots of courses on things like just sort of navigating different, like very specific social situations and things like that, work challenges, self-improvement, like just lots of stuff like that. Is really common with essentials. But yeah, one thing that you can do with essentials courses, you actually can earn a certificate of completion from doing certain essentials courses. So basically, the way it works is when you go look at essentials courses, you'll see that they are in different categories. So like business essentials, for example. Okay, if you take 5 days worth of courses that are business courses, you could get what's called a certificate of completion in business essentials. Now, let's say you want to do a combination of courses from different sections, right? Then what you would get is once you have done 5 days of classes, you could then apply to graduate with what we call a certificate of completion in multi-competency essentials. So yeah, that's basically how that works. So basically, regardless of how you split up your 5 days of learning with essentials courses, you can earn a credential from that, if that's an easier thing for you to sort of take away from it and digest. And yeah, typically they're about like half day, or or a few hour sessions kind of thing. Okay. And there's the streams that I mentioned, so you can see those are kind of the headlines there. Just to quickly change gears, actually, I'm just gonna glance over this one because I elaborated a little bit earlier on corporate and professional training, but yeah, just to say this, like, yeah, really, I mean, if it's one of those 4 areas at the bottom or anything else, really, basically just get in contact with us. And we have we have a history of doing great tailored bespoke pro courses for groups to meet an organization's specific needs. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, please do get in touch. So just to explain quickly about micro-credentials, I was talking about micro-credentials earlier and all the different micro-credentials you can get from just a data governance program alone. Um, what a micro-credential actually is it's just it's basically a special like highly secure digital item that you can add to your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and any other kind of digital space like that. And it is, yeah, it's basically this highly secure thing that guarantees that you have done the thing that you've done and that you didn't just write the line on your resume or whatever. But another thing that is really handy about it is that you can go into the micro and people viewing it can look at the micro credential, kind of drill down into more details and see what specifically the program or the course that you did to earn that micro credential, like what was involved in it, so they can see more details. And of course, that information is, very digitally secure as well. So that's kind of what the idea of it is. It's supposed to be appealing to employers to kind of, help them have some more certainty around what they're looking at on an applicant's resume, without having to, wait and go through a process of, contacting schools to get that information, that kind of thing, right? And it's also just something that you can earn very quickly in a lot of cases by, in some cases, in the one case, like I said, with data governance, just from doing the one course. And there's a couple, there is like one other case I can think of off the top of my head where you do complete a micro credential from just finishing one course as well. And that's a Microsoft Excel course. So that you can do just that and earn a micro credential for it. So yeah, that's basically what that is. Financial assistance, but basically just a quick overview of them. This one at the top is the one that I would kind of suggest everybody look at as their first one, especially if you are thinking about OSAP. I will mention that just for some boring bureaucratic reasons, basically, our courses aren't eligible for OSAP, but McMaster Association of Part-Time Students Bursary / McMaster Continuation Award. That one, despite being a little bit of a mouthful, is very similar to OSAP, kind of similar to, I should say, I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but it has some similarities with OSAP in terms of eligibility criteria. So if you're thinking about OSAP, we don't have OSAP eligibility, but you can look into this one. And if you were going to qualify for OSAP, then maybe you'll qualify for this. And it's great because you don't have to pay this one back, unlike OSAP. So awesome. But then there's also other different options like Canadian / Ontario government funded training programs like Better Jobs Ontario, and the Canada Ontario Job Grant, which is one where your employer kind of has to set it up, and basically it's like they apply for it and say that your training needs align with like the training needs that they have align with the course that we're offering, and that you're going to take. So that can be a great one as well. And it's something that I think a lot of employers don't necessarily know they can apply for, because we get tons of people whose employers are paying for them, but not that many that come through Canada Ontario Job Grant. So, take that back to your employer as a little Easter egg in case they don't know about it. Windmill micro lending is loans for skilled immigrants and refugees. So yeah, if that, we hear from a lot of people who are in that situation, people, who are in Canada from other countries, and they, their education, their experience and stuff doesn't isn't isn't being recognized over here. That's this is probably, this is something you should look into if you're in that situation. Um, and of course, you can ask your employer about any tuition assistance programs that may be available, and then traditional stuff, student loans, lines of credit. We do, RSP, sorry, RESPs, sorry, get approved for this and so on. So, yeah, that's an overview of that. So, how to register. The vast majority of courses, let's see, any we talked about today? No. So all the courses we talked about today are open enrollment programs. And this means that the registration criteria is extremely straightforward. You just basically, we just expect students to have a high school education. And if you don't have a high school education, you can be a mature student, which just means you've been out of school for a few years. Um, and uh, uh, and then yeah, deemed an exceptional case. Don't even worry about that. It's basically if you don't fit into those first two bullet points somehow, let us know and we'll talk about it. English language proficiency is just yeah, there's an expectation that you have good, strong English skills, of course. And so there's a link on our website that you can check and see English proficiency testing results for if you're worried about that at all. But like I said, with all the programs we discussed today being open enrollment, you don't have to prove any of this to us. You don't have to send us your high school diploma. You don't have to send us your a documentation with your birthday. You don't have to send us English proficiency test results. This is basically on you to make sure that you meet these criteria to, make sure that what you're enrolling in is appropriate for you. Okay. So if you're interested in, anything we've talked about today or anything else that we offer, what you do, is you find the course you want to take, you click on it on our website and you click add to cart, and then you go to your shopping cart and you proceed to checkout. And then you just follow the instructions that are on screen from there. If it's your first time, you're going to be asked to make an account, and then after that, you will always log in when you start the checkout process. So these FAQs that we have here, I was starting to speak to some of that already. That's how we just covered how to apply/enroll. Again, there's no applications for any programs we discussed today. So yeah, it's all just enroll, just open enroll. I'm gonna do how do I begin my course at the last one. That just kind of makes sense with the order here. So what is the cost? Well, the cost is always shown. The course fee is shown on the course specifically. So you'll see that you just pay for one course at a time, or however many courses you are taking at one time. The duration of courses is listed on the course. I also, just one more thing on cost. The vast majority of our courses do not charge any tax. So the price you're seeing for the course is the price that you're paying. Again, there's no additional fees for if you are, for domestic versus not domestic students. Like it's not a factor for us. And some courses do have textbooks, so you'll have some additional costs for textbooks, and that varies pretty widely per course. But if you're concerned about that, and you want to look into that before you enroll, you can certainly reach out to us and ask. You can also track down that information yourself, looking at our course outlines and then cross-referencing with the McMaster Campus Store website, which will have things listed. What is the duration of individual courses? That the start and end dates are always listed on them. Some courses, like a few of them, can be completed faster than the date, but I think almost everything we've discussed today is just the start date is the start date, the end date is the end date. And duration of the program will depend most of the time on just how quickly can you get through those courses that are required for the program. So if you have time to take 3 at once, awesome. Like you'll probably get through the program pretty quickly, right? But then again, some programs do have prerequisites within their within their required courses, right? So they'll have a defined order that you need to follow, which may mean that you need to slow your roll a little bit, but it varies really widely depending on the program. So you just have to see how long, how many courses are in the program, etc. Why are certain courses showing as unavailable? It's just because any course that's showing as unavailable on our website just means that it's not open to register right now. That might be because it's not being run in the current upcoming summer term, but it may very well have been running in the fall term and even this wrapping up winter term, or maybe it is running and it's full. So there's a few different reasons why that may be, but it's never anything bad. People do reach out to us a lot and say, "Hey, like, does this mean it's never going to be available again or something?" And like, no, it does not mean that. It just means that, all it definitely means is that it's just not available right now, right? So I'm going to wish everybody a great rest of their day. And thank you so much for coming. And please reach out to us anytime if you have more questions. We are happy to help. All right, everybody, have a great day. And thanks a lot for coming. Take care.